Don't try to fake passion. We're definitely at the age of vibe coding. For every success story, there's 1,000 failures. Don't wait to be hired. Get the best computer you can and build things and make a name for yourself that way. The future is already here. It's just unevenly distributed. Think of it as the democratization of coding, right? Anybody can be a coder. Data science, AI, go all in.
Promptonomics.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Promptonomics podcast. Today's guest is Chris Sells, a veteran software engineer with over 40 years of experience. He's an author, product leader, developer advocate, and one of the key figures behind the success of Flutter. Mr. Sells has worked at some of the biggest names in tech, including Microsoft, Google, and Meta, and in this episode we'll be talking about software development, how AI is reshaping it, and probably the most important part for us younger folks, what's next and what it really means to pursue software engineering as a career today. I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode as much as I did, and I would love to hear what you think about the format. Drop your feedback in the comments, any opinion helps. Alright, without further ado, let's get to it. What are the qualities the top tech companies look for in young specialists?
I've done a lot of engineering hiring in my time. Been in charge of some large engineering groups, um, uh, and worked at companies of all sizes, really. But really, the thing for me that I look for that's the most important is an engineer understanding why something the way it is the way it is, and so. I'll explain why that is. The technologies that we use change all day, every day, right? You're constantly learning new technologies and new techniques and new ways to think. But then when you learn things enough, right? When over time and you learn a bunch of things, you start to see patterns emerge, and that might be different syntax, right? But the same ideas appear over and over. So over time, as a engineer gets more experienced, I look for them to be able to discover those patterns. But for a brand new engineer, what I'm looking for is not breadth of knowledge, but depth. Whatever it is, right? If in my experience, the most successful engineers are the ones that didn't just do their homework, right? These are the ones that are building side projects and building things that they themselves use that are important to them, and building up a portfolio on GitHub and learning as they go and improving their coding and reading other people's code. And the way I test for this kind of is, I ask them what is the thing that you understand the most, the deepest, right? Your most technology that you understand all the way down. And I generally have a passing familiarity with most things that people will mention. And so I'll just start by asking kind of a basic question about whatever that technology is. And, I assume they'll be able to answer it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start digging into their depth. Well, okay, so you told me how it's implemented or how it works. Great. Why does it work that way? Right. And so I start digging in, and then they
Oh yes, sorry to interrupt. It's the common saying that if you can't explain it easily, you don't understand it.
100% true. Einstein said that. Or no, it was not Einstein. It was famous physicist. He gave all those great
I think it was Einstein about physics. Like he said that if you can't explain physics
maybe it was Einstein.
Simply, you don't understand. Yeah. Or it was about quantum physics, but whatever.
Sure. But you're totally right. I mean, and I've done a bunch of teaching and writing in my time, and that's true. Whenever I signed up for a new project, a new talk, a new course that I was giving, a new book that I wanted to write, it was always because I wanted to know it at that next level, right? And so writing or teaching was always a great way for me to learn it. And so what I'm looking for is engineers that can dig in and really understand the why of things. It doesn't have to be a lot of things. It could just be one thing. But what I'm looking for them is them being able to dig in and have that knowledge to multiple levels, right? I go as deeply as I can, and I experienced engineers, I expect to go more deeply. But even for new engineers, I try to go as deep as I can to assess their ability to answer my why questions. And to me, that's an indication of their ability to really learn something. And as
Mm.
I say, as an engineer, you're constantly learning new things, new ideas, new technologies. And that's how I assess. That is the number one most important thing for me when I'm hiring.
Do you think the passion is the key here right now?
It's funny you say that. That is the thing that I think is going to stick out most to potential employers, right? They don't want someone who who just flipped a coin and went lawyer, doctor, programmer. What's going to make me the most money? That's what I'll
Yeah.
learn. I'll go do that, right? They want someone who lives and breathes it. All of my favorite people in the field, in the industry, were all people who started, at age 15 or 12 or 10, or,
Yeah.
they were musicians and they started recording their music and they used computers and now they're writing music and using their computers, or they were, solving problem. For me, I started building forms over data packages when I was 14, which is just a fancy way of saying I built a program where I could type in my D&D character sheets and save it and then load it and
Oh,
print it and write. That's what I was. And then I
start
built
small.
reporting
You,
software.
you have to be curious, right, about
That's
stuff.
right. I
Yeah.
built I built reporting software, which is just a fancy way of saying I could print my character sheets to the printer with all kinds of fancy escape codes that made it look cool, like
Oh,
bold and italics. And
that's nice.
this was in 1982, right? So
Mm.
this was my passion, right? And I picked a computer as a career as a computer scientist way back, way before there
It
was
was fancy
any
like
I
this.
had any knowledge that, I didn't know that it was going to be a lucrative career. I just got lucky, right? It was passion.
Yeah.
And that's what employers really want to see. They want to see enthusiasm. They want to see passion. They want to see excitement to dive in and get their hands dirty and get started.
Yes, and as we can see right now, the most passionate people who are passionate about the education in the field, and especially with AI right now. I mean, the top tech talent is they are like superstar athletes right now. We see that Meta bot basically poached OpenAI's top talent.
Yeah.
They snatched the CEO of Ilya Sutskever's company, CEO Cross. Top tech talent, the most passionate ones, the most experienced ones, are the ones who get picked, and they earn a lot of money nowadays. So
It wasn't about money, right? We've been through many AI waves,
yes,
right? AI has been going on for a while and it's been getting slowly better for sure. And then, November, 2022, when OpenAI tipped the tables over when they shipped Chat GPT,
yeah,
right? That's when the whole world exploded, right? It took 30 years of work to get to be an overnight success like that, right? And
yeah,
and then the other piece of advice I will give you is don't try to fake passion, right?
oh yeah,
Instead, pick something you're passionate about and do that, right? Insincere passion is not, it may get you past the interview, but it won't last long after that.
I'm
It really.
sure you would, given your experience in the field, you can kind of just see like an X-ray, a young specialist who's passionate about it and who's just, in it to win it, or I don't know, something like this. But yes, absolutely, the curiosity and passion and being passionate about your trade, about your craft is absolutely the most important. But the another thing I wanted to ask, with your span of experience, like 30 years is a lot of years, right? And
Well, just to be clear, it's been more than 40 years since I was 14, right? When I started
oh, okay,
full time.
okay, yeah.
Yes, 30 years, 35 years as a professional, whatever.
So you've basically
But I have essentially been doing this my whole life, right? It is
you,
my life's work.
yeah, you've basically witnessed all of the stages of development.
Well, there was punch cards, right? I didn't do any punch cards.
Oh yeah,
There was a lot of assembly language before I started. My first programming language was Visual Basic on my Apple II Plus, and then Fortran, Pascal, C, blah. from there. That's the era
Pascal,
where I
Pascal.
started.
That's the old school. Yeah, I've studied Pascal when I was in high school, just as my side project, kind of. But yeah, so you have witnessed basically all of the stages almost of software development processes or even AIs. What were the first implications of AI?
Yeah, I mean, you could be talking about AI in the general sense, right? And we've had machine learning, which is a classification of AI for a
Yeah.
long time. You could be talking about generative AI. The way I think about it is, if I look back, I mean, when we moved from punch cards on a single user systems, right? You would have to, drop off your stack of punch cards and come back the next day, and hopefully somebody had run it because they could only run one at a time on the machine, to where we could log in and type our own programs into a multi-user system, right? Where multiple people were logged in and using the resources, and you had your slice, right? We used to call it time slicing, right? Which is really just a fancy way of saying, there were multiple threads and, or the equivalent, right? Where you would essentially feel like you own the whole machine, but you just had your little slice, right? That was a huge, huge leap, right? That changed the nature of programming. And we have been doing it like that ever since. Even when it came to, the initial Copilot, GitHub Copilot, right? They pioneered the whole, before you would, start typing and you press dot and some static analysis would show you the list of, members that you could access, right? When they flipped the switch and you started typing and it would say, oh, it looks like you're typing this code. Let me just show you. And I can you press tab and you get the whole thing. That was a big deal, but you were still fundamentally typing all the code, right? You press tab and, get a shortcut, and we have that in our email programs and everywhere now. But when we flipped the switch, and I want to say this happened within the last 6 months, between typing all the code and having generative AI that was good enough to actually build a lot of the code for you, that is the same leap forward in my mind from when we moved from punch cards.
God knows what's next in that sense, or what will be in 5 or 10 years.
I mean, look at over the last, well, that was 40 years ago, right? 50 years ago. Yeah. Look at how long, we've been typing text and doing the same thing. It's been getting better, right? We've got syntax completion and interactive debugging and, fancy syntax coloring and, better languages, better libraries, frameworks, right? I mean, things have been getting better over the last 40 years for sure, but incrementally. And then there was a huge step change when it was, you have things like Cursor and Claude Code and Copilot Agent and, a whole host of these other, AI agent coding tools where the job of a software engineer has changed or is changing, right? We're in the middle of this shift. There's still a lot of engineers that will say AI is a fad, it's going away, or I tried it once 2 years ago and it sucked, and now, I still do it the same old way. But change is coming, right? This is a whole new, it is too useful, it is too valuable. Right now, we're seeing that there are two kinds of software engineers: those that still type all the code themselves, and those that work in collaboration with the AI agent to build the code.
We can see the shift right now in a way that time that it takes to build an MVP for any product is an all-time low. Basically, the two most famous cases right now are with the company is called Base 44. So basically, a guy, he's a solo founder. He started the company in 6 months. He built it himself with AI, and he managed to sell it for $80 million. $80 million just by himself, solo founder. Incredible story of success and such stuff. And another Brazilian company, I think it's called Qcon Cursos, something like this. With 3 developers and AI tools, they have built some kind of a premium subscription tier web service, and they managed to rise 7,000 new users and $3 million in 48 hours. Such an incredible shift now. And even Satya Nadella, who is the CEO of Microsoft, he basically said that the startup era as we knew it is over right now. What is your assessment kind of the situation, and how can it shift maybe in 5 years? I don't know if we can look that far. 5 years is too much. Yeah, maybe 2 years we can look that far. I don't know.
Well, what I'll say is, we're definitely at the age of vibe coding, and there's there's bad ways to do it and good ways to do it, and of course the juniors don't have that kind of code instinct that the senior folks do. They have to develop it, and you certainly can writing code with AI if you're thoughtful about it. But the ones that already have it, I can't tell you. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, I built a pretty popular library for use with a system called Flutter. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Cross-platform UX framework, big fan.
And it's a tool for developers, right?
That's right. Yeah. And it took me about 6 months to really get a usable, popular version that people were really enjoying. And I wrote every character of that, right? Recently, I've been building an agentic framework where I make it work for Dart and Flutter. Dart is the language of Flutter, right? It's kind of like Ruby and Rails, right? Flutter is the Rails, Dart is the Ruby, it's the language. But the nice thing about Dart is it runs on the command line, it runs on the web, it runs in your Flutter programs, it runs on the server, right? Dart runs everywhere. And I wanted to, we didn't really have an agentic framework that worked everywhere in Dart that really had the capabilities and the ease of use and the traction that we needed. And that took me using the AI tools at the time about 6 weeks to build, right? And I started using things like Cursor and that was before I hit Claude Code. Since I started using Claude Code, I have rebuilt the entire thing from scratch in 2 weeks. Wow. And the reason I did that was because there was some, fundamental architectural changes I needed to make to support the wide range of underlying model providers, right? I wanted to make it work across a wide range of Anthropic and Google and OpenAI and Fireworks and Cohere and Together and Olama and blah, 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 blah. And I needed a fundamental architecture. Yeah. So I started again, but I've been able to do it in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Right?
I mean,
we have to
the size and scale of the thing that took me 6 months of hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a step change. This is craziness. And so what it enables, think of it as the democratization of coding, right? Anybody can be a coder.
I mean, it's a great equalizer, right?
That's right. And it's just like, when anyone with a Mac could compose music. Before then, you had to be a musician. With a computer, you could build all kinds of wonderful things. Same with publishing books. You can publish your own book on the internet. You can you can have your own TV channel. In fact, millions of people do have their own TV channel, right, on YouTube. I mean, over and over again, these tools are democratizing the technology to let people without, some skill that is holding them back. For example, I've never been a musician, so I'm not inclined. I mean, I play an instrument, but I'm not a musician, if that makes sense.
Same for me.
Yeah. But I could use these tools if I chose, right, to make music. And just the ability, or make movies, or make TV shows, or make a whole TV channel. Opening this stuff up and letting anyone in is a good thing, right? That's a fantastic thing. So there's not going to be fewer programmers because of AI. There's going to be more. There's going to be an order of magnitude or two more, because then everyone will be able to do it. And that's fantastic, because there's so much power that is locked up in these, little machines, right? And in the cloud that anyone should have access to.
I mean, we have to make a note here, though, but that right now, at this point, kind of, if you know nothing about the code, you cannot really achieve the same results as you do, because you don't even
That's
yes
100% true.
you don't even know what things to account for, right?
Right.
Because if you don't even know what you don't know about
That's
the
right.
code.
Well, and of course, a bunch of people building vibe coding apps and
Yes.
shipping them, and SQL injection and
Yes.
denial of service and they're leaking their users' information all over the internet.
Yes, absolutely.
Because they don't know.
It was the case on Twitter, on X. So the guy, I think it was about a year ago, the guy posted about his service dropping. I think he launched some kind of SaaS company, and he claimed that he vibe coded it all from scratch by himself, and that he knows nothing about the code. So enthusiastic people just took it down pretty easily, because cybersecurity was not accounted for, because he doesn't know anything about it.
He didn't all he would have had to do is go to Claude Code and say, "Can you help me secure my app?" Right? And that would have taken care of 80% of it. But I'm sure he didn't even think to do that. Right?
Yes. And even as far as architecture, maybe if you're trying to code up like vibe code, some kind of project, I don't know, some kind of SaaS or startup, whatever, you probably need someone to review your code, someone with technical knowledge and technical experience, because it might get messy later on. And it's a whole kind of a meme situation where people say that the CS majors are not done because they will be working on projects that vibe coders built to fix them.
It's interesting you say that, because you're right. We are awash in computer scientists that don't have jobs, software engineers that don't have jobs, right? It's kind of been a perfect storm of uncertain economy brought on by the chaos of the current U.S. administration, plus AI, plus this years-long buildup of all these software engineers, and now there's nowhere for them to go with the layoffs and things. And it's just, it's a much different world than it used to be. But you said it before. You said the way startups go are different now, right? I mean, the point of a MVP is to get out in the world and see if anyone wants your stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And so, for every success story, there's 1,000 failures, right? But those success stories, the more of them we have, the more they're going to be like, okay, there's a need, but it can't withstand SQL injection or whatever. I better hire some real software engineers to take this over and bring it to the next level. But by then they have customers, they have revenue, they have code, they have a business. They can now hire people, and suddenly those people with layoffs, right? They have a place to go, right? This is going to be a bigger world of businesses with software, not a smaller one.
I was really interested in the statement of Eric Schmidt, and he said that AI is underhyped, because in my life and my friends and basically all of the people that I talk to on a daily basis, we're really interested in AI and how it is, and it seems like everybody is talking about it, at least for me. But he claimed that AI does not get enough attention. What do you think about this? Do you think it is a
there's
correct
a
assessment
going on there? There's a great William Gibson quote, which is, "The future is already here. It's just unevenly distributed." And that is definitely the case with AI, right? So for the folks that are doing it, and I think it's really a small percentage that are really embracing it and really using it for a combination of, set in their ways. It's just a fad. I tried it. It sucked 2 years ago. Corporate policy. Oh, we can't have AI generated code in our code base. There's a variety of reasons why people aren't using it. But for those that are using it, they understand the difference, the new world that we have just entered. And I think there's going to be two kinds of engineers, right? The kinds of engineers that embrace AI, and the kinds of engineers who, might be in the next round of layoffs, right?
Oh
I
yeah,
believe it's that stark.
that's a harsh division, to be honest. But I mean, I agree. It is what it is right now.
Mhm.
You either use it or you lose your job, you lose your spot. You have to find a way, an efficient way that works for you at least, and that pleases your, I don't know,
That's right.
employer, to kind of merge it all together in a good way for you. But you still have to learn it. Otherwise, you're done
Well,
pretty
and
much.
it's not just learn it, right? I mean, the folks that like us on the cutting edge of this AI for software engineering, we're inventing new techniques, right? I mean, wow, I can give Claude Code a little bit of information, and it can do amazing things, and it can build things in an afternoon that I wouldn't have taken on because it would have taken me weeks or months, and I don't have that kind of time, right? But I can now
Yeah.
do it in an afternoon and still keep an eye on it and make sure it's a good thing. And it's amazing what you get. But then there are also problems that you run into if you're not careful. One of the things that I run into a bunch is, and I've had to spend a bunch of time kind of defending against it, is um, AI agents, coding agents are like, oh, this is failing. Therefore, I'll wrap it in a try catch block and suppress the error. No, it's not failing anymore. Mission accomplished, right?
Yeah.
And I actually had to, like I say, I'm a Dart and Flutter programmer. I had to write a custom lint that would look for catch blocks that just swallowed an exception and moved on, so that I could apply
Mm.
it to the projects I'm building with these AI agents. So I would get the lint error, so that it would tell me, hey, you are just covering up errors, and work to update my prompts and my design docs and my project principles to get it to stop doing that, right? I mean, um, it's things like that we have to figure out, right? Plus, there's another class of people. I spend a bunch of time with Claude Code specifically is my AI agent of choice right now, but I spend a bunch of time with it, telling it, you know, uh, interacting with it, right? Looking over its shoulder. Hey, this is what I want. Let's work on this design together. Ask any questions before you get going. Let's, narrow in on this. Let's write a spec together. Great. Now go off and do the thing. I still spend a bunch of time watching it go off the rails and go, no, what? Don't do it that way. That's just dumb, right? And stopping it and redirecting it. And it's and still a very much interactive coding experience. I mean, it happens a lot faster, and I'm, you know, but it's still, very interactive, just like coding, typing, right? We need to, as an industry, move to a place where we can actually figure out how to describe how we want problems to be solved, so that we get good results in a non-interactive, right? In an autonomous coding agent, right?
Yeah.
That is an unsolved problem, right?
This is a very complex problem, really, and YC currently is looking for a service-based startup that works on AI agents, no humans involved, on autonomous AI agents, and they're looking for some service-based startup that works in a way that people know that it is fully AI, that everything is done by AI, but they still willingly go to spend their money. I don't know what it is, but because there is no such idea right now currently, because everywhere you look, you need people to at least do the maintenance work, right?
You need folks directing the development work. You need folks directing the
Yes,
maintenance work. You need people taking a look at the code to do the final PR. I mean, I mean, on the one hand, it's hard for new junior engineers to get into this space. On the other hand, senior engineers are enormously valuable to make sure
yeah,
that AI agents are staying in their lane. Well, eventually, senior engineers die. And if we're not feeding it,
yes.
building more senior engineers by not having new junior engineers, that's a problem.
Yes, so we have to find a way to kind of teach the young people still, and share the knowledge with them, right? But the problem is really complex. People go out in the world after the university, after they just got their degree, and they kind of they don't see any opportunities for them. As my first question was right, and I wanted to also formulate the question in a different way. How would you say? Is there any way that you can break into the industry with your kicking the door in? Let's put it like this, like the rock star way. Is there really any way? Is it some GitHub project? What is the rock star way to go into the industry?
Well, in my experience, success breeds success, meaning, don't wait to be hired. Go ahead, apply for jobs. Maybe there'll be one out there that you'll love and you should take it and be happy, and that'll be great. But but you don't have to go that route anymore, right? You've got a bunch right now. You've got a whole set of people that don't know anything about coding, that are vibe coding and building apps and solving needs for people. What about the people who have the formal education and the passion for computer science? They're going to be way better vibe coders than, the non-technical folks. What's stopping them, especially when they're young and, they're used to eating mac and cheese, because they were in college? Keep living like that. Keep your costs low, live in your parents' basement, right? Get the best computer you can and build things and make a name for yourself that way and be known that way. And then you'll either be successful, or you'll build up this portfolio of all this knowledge and you'll build up a name for yourself that way. And now you're at the other end of the stick, which is, instead of you knocking on people's door and saying, please hire me, you'll have people coming to you and saying, please come to work for us.
That's a great piece of advice, to be honest. Is it something you would do if you was just starting out right now?
Well, I took it. So I'm a Gen Xer. So I was the kind of last generation where, if I did what the boomers did, right? I went to college, I got a degree, I got a bachelor's degree in computer science, and I got a master's degree in computer science. Then I went to work for Intel, and then I went to work, for a little startup and blah, 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 right? And I could just, I could just watch my income grow year by year because of the demand for software engineers, and had a great time doing it. I just followed that recipe and it worked. My kids don't have that luxury. That economic model doesn't work anymore, right? For a lot of people. For some folks it does, right? But for a lot of people it doesn't. And even now, I'm always learning, always educating myself. But I'm not taking classes at the local college. That's too slow, right? I'm on the internet. I'm doing research. I'm building things. I'm trying things.
Exactly.
That's what I think people should do, right? Continually educate themselves, find their passion, build the thing that means something to them.
You can kind of create your own learning curve, your own learning roadmap, in a way that fits you and fits your personal goals, let's say. So if you want to build something, if you want to do it, you can kind of really create your own roadmap to do it right now. And it's a really interesting time to be in right now. Really interesting in that sense. You can essentially teach yourself anything.
That's right. And you can do it with increasingly amazing chatbots, right? I spend a bunch of time, whenever I have a core question about something, I spend a bunch of time in Claude Chat. I spend a bunch of time in Chat GPT. And I'm like, I have a question about blah. And they essentially, right, they have the entire internet, on RAG, right? And they can download things from the internet on demand, and they have deep research mode. I mean, it's hard to imagine a question that I couldn't get answered that way, right? In the old days, I mean, when I was a kid, I grew up in a library. My mom was a librarian, and I knew the card catalog, and I would, go and look up something on a shelf and pick up a book or two and read it that way. Then the internet hit, and I could do a Google search, and the pages and the websites for my books, and I would consume things that way. Now I can just have a question, and I'm like, I wonder what the answer to this is, and I can go
Exactly,
And
exactly.
it's
And I have a little brother, so I kind of look for ways to teach him how to use AI properly, right? And my take on this is that if you are in, let's say, eighth grade, or I don't know, high school, and if you don't understand any subject and you feel like you're failing in this class, but uh, let's say you really want to do something in life, but it requires knowledge of this subject, and you feel like I'm stupid on this, I'm not indicated enough. You really can't just change everything by digging deep for 1 month. You can do everything. You can even ask any LLM, any ChatGPT, Grok, whatever you use. You can ask, but basically explain it to me like I'm 5 years old,
that's
and it
right.
will and it will find a way to explain it to any single topic.
Yeah, it's not,
So it's
and you
beautiful
can
in that
go
sense.
deep too, right? You can say, I would like a broad knowledge of topic X. Could you please give me an outline and some
Yes,
resources and help me through that? And now, I mean, as a software engineer, especially, I've done this where I'm like, great, now let's talk about that first thing on the list and how does that work? And now I'll go and write some code and feel it under my fingers and really get to understand it. And yeah, there's nothing you can't learn like that.
yes, absolutely. And beautiful time in that sense. You can do anything pretty much, really.
That's
It's a
right.
great it's a great equalizer of everyone. Like the opportunity is equal. You don't have any excuses right now.
And that
You
is
can
the
learn anything.
that is the core, that is the base of democracy, right? That you're not held back, right? If you
Absolutely.
now you do need some basics, and we do have a growing amount of our society that don't have these basics, right? But you need shelter, you need power, you need high-speed internet, you need food, right? Medical attention, mental health attention, and you need a top flight computer. But if you have those things, which you know I would put internet and the top end computer on the lowest rung of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs from just a pure survival point of view. But if you have those things, everything else can come from there.
Yes, absolutely. And the last question will be, since I see that we're kind of running out of time, last question would be, what advice would you give to the young people who seek software development as their career choice?
I have been giving those folks the same advice for the last 10 years, which is data science, AI, go all in.
Just all in. That's
On,
it.
on AI,
There's,
data
you
science.
you have to grind it out, right?
I don't know what that means. What I mean is, you will have better success, and I've seen this coming for 10 years in an AI discipline than you will in a software engineering discipline. In what 10 years ago was the future, now is the
Yeah.
present, and ongoing into the future.
Yeah. Just to be clear, grind it out means basically just stubbornly work on something for a long period of time.
Well, follow you gotta be passionate. You gotta find some
Yes. Yes.
form of
Absolutely.
it, something. The thing that drives my passion is there are things that I want to exist in the world, and because I want to use them, and I have full autonomy to create them if they don't exist, and that's what I do, and that's what I spend my time on, and that's what makes me happy. And those all things ultimately make developers' lives better, which has really been my life's goal, right?
Yeah.
What do I do on this planet? And that's a goal I adopted decades ago, right? So if you can have a goal and a passion, a purpose, something that brings meaning to your life, and a tribe to do that with, right? The
Yeah.
rest is just calories and protection from the weather.
It's all, yes, I agree. It also comes up to the problem of AI influencing on people, and basically dividing people into two categories, where one are hyper producers and the others are hyper consumers, and you have to stay on the bright side. Let's put it like this. So you have to be able to implement it in your life, as far as I understand it, and in my life it is like this. You have to implement it. You have to work around it, somehow find a way that suits you and your purpose, your goals, your alignment, internal alignment, right, and such stuff. So yes, absolutely, we would just have to stay productive and create new things.
I mean, that's the thing that uh, you have to really guard against. There's so much these days that can distract. when it comes to consumption. And what I encourage everyone to do is really find the thing in their lives that makes them creative, that lets them put things out into the world, right? Yes, I use AI coding to help me, right? Make me go faster, make me get better, deeper solutions. But I make sure that it lives up to my own personal quality, and I put my name on it. And if it doesn't, I don't ship it, right? It's not ready.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. It's the same way for me, to be honest. Are we wrapping this up right now? just to ask you. It is such an interesting topic that I'm really, I can't be out of questions, to be honest with you, but it is up to you, obviously.
I do have somewhere I have to be at noon, so I have
Yes,
to
absolutely.
go.
Thank you so much for your time. It was really an honor and pleasure to have you here today. Well, that's it for today's episode, guys. I appreciate you if you stayed this long, and I would also appreciate any kind of feedback regarding my performance as a host, the format of the podcast. I would like to better myself in this project, so any opinion really helps. Drop your opinions in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.